It's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, on top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
It's a very good evening, Zimbabwe. Throwback Thursday here on ZiFM Sport, and it may be November, but we've got the year's third and final major to enjoy at the iconic Augusta National. A tradition unlike any other will indeed be like nothing the sports world has ever seen. The Masters in November. Could anything be more 2020? A year that has served up surprise after surprise. Some good, mostly bad. The team to look forward to the Augusta National Masters in the midst of November are Mike Madoda, Chris Midzi, Sean Tafirinika, our producer, and I'm Barry Menandi.
Hi, my name's Ryan Cairns, Sunshine Tour professional golfer, and you're listening to ZiFM Sport.
Why don't you get in touch with us on our social media at ZiFM Sport? Tell us who you think is going to win this edition of the Masters. That's what we're previewing on today's show. Now, usually it's the first major, but this year the Masters finds itself playing the role of closer. 3 months following the PGA Championship and 8 weeks after the US Open at Winged Foot, all eyes will be on Augusta National. The blooming azaleas have been exchanged for the fall foliage. The roars that echo through the Georgia pines will be replaced by a form of quiet, usually reserved only for the secluded 13th tee at Augusta National. It's the sport's final major championship of the season, and the golf world is more than ready. Let's catch up with ZiFM Sport pundit Mark Pozzo, who gives us his thoughts on what we can expect from the Masters.
19 months have passed since Tiger Woods slipped on a fifth green jacket, but the absence of golf's most iconic major and its patrons has been felt beyond Magnolia Lane. The tournament provides an annual windfall said to be worth $100 million for the Augusta economy. More than 200,000 people pass through the city during Masters Week, doubling its population. Hotels hike up their rates to sometimes 6 times the average price. Locals move out of town for the week to rent their properties to patrons, and some nearby golf clubs sell tee times for $1,000. However, not to be this year. It will all be but somber. The Augusta National ground staff are renowned for their meticulous preparation, and the venue will no doubt look immaculate, every blade of grass clipped and colored to perfection. The green should be in pristine condition. All 18 boast a sub-air system that can suck out moisture, enjoying their own microclimate that can be adapted depending on the same time of year or whether the bent grass putting surface is situated in the shade or sun. The consensus is the track will play longer in November than it does in April because of cooler conditions and stickier fairways. Add to that the potential for stronger changing winds and rain, with possible thunderstorms forecast on the opening day tomorrow, and it could play in the hands of the field's biggest hitters. That will prick the ears of the likes of Bryson DeChambeau, who overpowered the notoriously difficult Winged Foot to win his first major at the US Open in September, and recently posted an image from his launch monitor showing a drive which flew 403 yards in the air. Seeing this week, there will possibly be a little bit of cold weather, rain, thunderstorms coming in as we predicted. The golf course is going to be super soft. So Bryson DeChambeau carrying it 320, 330 yards is a double advantage. It has been suggested DeChambeau may use that to his advantage by driving over the pines to the left of the dog-legged par 5 13th, a great hole to reach the 14th fairway, giving a better angle into the green. That's something you need to watch out for. So who else is there in contention? We've talked about Bryson DeChambeau. He must be the favorite. Open champion Shane Lowry's best previous Masters finish in 4 attempts is a share of 39th in 2016, but says he's coming into this week's event with a little bit of form. could he be in contention as well? Well, let's see what the bookmakers have to say. Bryson DeChambeau priced up at 7-1 to win the tournament. Dustin Johnson, again, DJ will be a huge player, 17-2. The Spaniard John Rahm, former world number 1, at 9-1. Justin Thomas, JT, 11-1. Can Rory McIlroy recapture his earlier form? 11-1. Xander Schauffele, another big player here. I think this course will suit him, and Xander Schauffele will be there as well. 14-1 in the betting. Brooks Koepka, I like him a little bit. 16-1. And if you're going to throw in some of the outsiders, Tony Finau at 25-1, big player Tyrrell Hatton playing some of the best golf of his life. Young Matthew Wolff, I really like this guy. He is not far from winning his first major either. One of my favorites, as always, is Tommy Fleetwood, but I do believe that it will go to another American this year at Augusta. I also like a bit of Paul Casey, tied second in the 2020 PGA Championship. He's not far from a big major win, and he must be there as well. As I said, Brooks Koepka, 4-time major winner. He'll like the course and how it plays as well. But for me, I think it is going to be a real interesting Masters, an 84th edition with Bryson DeChambeau possibly the one that will be donning the green jacket come Sunday evening.
Z.
Now, Mike, coupled with the music and the scenery at Augusta National, you can't mistake the Masters. But it's happening in November. Tell us about Augusta as a course and how it plays.
Barry, before I get into my response, you did say early on, could anything be more 2020? Well, I tell you, the one person who's not going to be enjoying the Masters this year is Donald Trump, who's actually a very avid and keen golfer. He's actually supposed to spend at least a couple of days after losing the election out on his course out in Virginia. And I was just reading something which I found really funny about 2020. It says that Trump got the whole 2020 experience. He got COVID, he lost his job, and he's about to get evicted.
Wow. So that's absolutely appropriate.
Yeah, so I found that really funny. And, when I think about Donald Trump, the golfer, the guy who owns a number of golf courses in the United States of America, and a guy who ordinarily would have been enjoying the Masters after celebrating what he thought would be an easy election victory. This time, he's going to be hunkered down with some of his advisors, trying to figure out ways in which they can discredit the American election. And of course, his successor, the president-elect Joseph Biden Jr. Now, I'm not going to tell the rest of Zimbabwe about how I told the rest of the team here at ZiFM Sport that Biden was likely to win it. That's a story for another day. What we're here to discuss is about who's likely to perform well at Augusta National. Now, Barry, you asked about how it's going to play. Well, I tell you one thing that people are going to have to factor this week is the weather. It's first of all predicted to be wet and rainy at Augusta National. What does this mean, Barry? It means that guys like Bryson DeChambeau, guys like Dustin Johnson, guys like Brooks Koepka may well come into the thinking. Why? Because they can afford to bomb it off the tee, knowing that it's not going to run as much as it would be if it was dry. So it's wet, it's spongy, it's soggy. The ball is likely to stay in the vicinity of the areas where it's going to land. So what I love about Augusta National, Barry, is it's a course where you can mix up your shots off the tee, your iron shots, as well as putting. It's got very treacherous greens, which means that your putting always has to be on point. The ability to read the greens is paramount at Augusta. And the best readers of the green are those that putt best and will likely do well. But you've got to back it up, Barry, with the long drives off the tee, especially if it's going to be wet underfoot, as well as some really good approach shots. And I know one guy we're not going to talk about much on the show today, Tiger Woods. There's no one who knows Augusta National more than Tiger Woods. He's won the most there, and he's never failed to make it past the cut whenever he's played at Augusta National.
Absolutely, and we're going to talk about the players momentarily. And I think it's a good time for us to hear from Tiger Woods, because he's not planning on becoming a ceremonial golfer anytime soon after declaring he expects to contend every time he tees it up at the Masters. Let's hear what Tiger has to say.
I haven't played a lot. Obviously, you mentioned I've only played 6 events. But it's been, gearing up for the major championships and trying to understand what we have to deal with, this year with COVID and trying to be safe. And I was hesitant to come back and start playing. That's why I waited as long as I did and came back at Memorial. And from there, I really haven't, as I said, haven't put all the pieces together, and hopefully that'll be this week.
Chris, Tiger is one that Mike has already said we're not going to dwell upon, but you count him out at your peril still, because he's managed to surprise us, yes, on few occasions now, but he certainly has the element of surprise, doesn't he?
Tiger Woods is the one golfer that can definitely sort of pop up as a surprise here. If you're taking a look at just form, it doesn't look like he can win, but this guy is the defending champion and he traditionally does well at Augusta. He knows the course, and also he's been known to bounce back from scandal, from surgery, tragedies. He's almost the king of bounce back ability when it comes to golf. So he can definitely bring a surprise, but we'll see what happens.
I love Chris. I mean, Chris bringing up scandal. Come on, Chris.
We can't talk Tiger Woods and not bring up scandal. Okay?
Chris, you talk about bounce back ability. Can his back still bounce back? Because he's got a dodgy back. Listen, it's been a long time.
Well, Barry, we would also have to ask the question, why exactly are you asking the question? Is it for the golf or the scandal? Staying back and getting back with golf, guys. Tiger Woods, he tees off in the group with Shane Lowry and Andy Ogletree. Mikey, you talked about how this course will play, and we find that the course plays a huge part in who ultimately wins these majors. And if we look at Augusta, it's got the very mature trees. The tree line is not as tight as other courses, but you've got to know how to navigate. You look at that 10th hole, that's the dog leg left. You've got to know how to machine your clubs and move the ball around so that you get onto the greens you spoke about and are able to read those greens in regulation. With that in mind, give me some of the thoughts of the names that spring to mind that come into play, apart from ones you mentioned earlier. Barry, before I talk of any names, I think we need to really emphasize the fact that the Masters is being played in November. So right. It's going to be, there's an element, or should I say, an unknown element in there, an unknown quantity of how the course is actually going to play at Augusta this coming weekend. So we need to keep that in mind. However, I am not going to look past Dustin Johnson. I wasn't going to be talking about Dustin Johnson leading into last week, the Houston Open, but he played sufficiently well enough, Barry. I think he finished second in that competition for me to think that, you know what, he may be coming back into form, because he had sort of like petered out after really hitting some heady heights about 2 months ago. He kind of like went on the wane, also didn't play a bit as well whilst he was taking a rest, but he's sort of like beginning to find form. He's also motivated enough, Barry, because he hasn't done well at Augusta, so he's got a bit of motivation to try and conquer the course. I did talk about the fact that if it's wet underfoot, Barry, he can drive it long. And the advantage that he has over Bryson DeChambeau, for example, is that he's able to drive it long and accurate. Whereas Bryson DeChambeau then really banks on his power game with his iron shots to get him out of the thick and to approach the green. So that's the advantage that he has over Bryson. Then Brooks Koepka, for me, another dark horse, because he's got it all. He's got the drive, he's got the approach, and he's got the putting.
Well, he's got an interesting group, the one you picked, Dustin Johnson, because he's teeing off with Rory McIlroy and Patrick Cantlay. And remember, he finished second to Tiger Woods in last time out at Augusta in the Masters. So he's got a motivation, as it were, to go one better. Let's hear from him, because he's hopeful of finishing top of the leaderboard, Dustin Johnson.
I mean, obviously, this golf course is, it's tough. They've made it a lot longer
through the years, and it's really playing long right now. But yeah, I mean, obviously you need to take advantage of the par fives. I mean, that's, if you look back through the past, winners, they always play the par fives well. And it's, something that if I want to shoot good scores out here, I need to play the par fives well. I can feed off those experiences and kind of know what to expect. But it was a lot of fun. And, I've had a couple good finishes here the last couple of years. And so as long as the game stays in good form, I think I'm hopefully be around here on Sunday and have a chance to win.
Dustin Johnson there talking about his chances, and you got to say to yourself, it's hard to look past him, Chris, because of his accuracy off the tee, and also the element that he's improved in his game, which is his putting now, is top notch, and the fact that you've got to read the greens at Augusta is going to work in his favor.
It's definitely going to work in his favor. He's also, in terms of form, he's quite good. He's won 3 of the previous 9 events and finished runner-up in 2 others as well. So you can't completely count him out at all. And also just after testing positive for coronavirus, he's missed the CJ Cup, the Zozo Championship. So he's definitely in this this is going to be like a resurgence, a return, and he might have that extra bit of energy.
Extra bit of motivation. Mikey, any thoughts on John Ram, the Spaniard? Look, we saw earlier this week he hit that miracle shot where he skimmed it off the water and straight into the hole on the par 3 at Augusta. Was that some sort of an omen, maybe?
Yeah, well, Barry, if you're the superstitious type, you could say that, listen, it could be set up for him, but you could also say that he's used all his luck in the practice rounds. But whichever way, I think he's certainly a factor. I saw him practicing last night and spent quite a bit of time in the bunkers practicing his bunker shot. So he is very aware that this could be decided on fine margins. And also because they've got those very punishing bunkers at Augusta, Barry, if you're not accurate with your approach shot. So he realizes that maybe, 3 or 4 times he's going to be found in the sand. And when he's found in the sand, he's got to make some good shots out of the bunkers to give himself a chance. So he spent a lot of time practicing those bunker shots. And for me, it shows you that he's a player that's not leaving anything to chance. The rest of his game is already good enough. He hits it long enough off the tee. He's got some decent iron shots. He putts very well. So he's working on the bunker shots just to make sure that, he's ready for almost any scenario that's thrown at him at Augusta.
He's a decent shout. Let's hear from him after that stunning practice shot on the short hole that skimmed off the water and straight into the hole. John Ram.
Can't lie, I'm feeling pretty confident. Even my last start, the Zozo Championship, I hit it about as good as I've hit it tee to green, really, in the tournament, especially on the Sunday and the weekend. So happy where I'm at, and I think the best way I can explain it, I'm simply just happy. Outside the golf course, my life is great within the limits of, nowadays pandemic. And I'm also happy on the golf course. I've been putting in the work and golfing well. So hopefully something special happens this weekend.
The words of John Ram there, and as we said earlier, he tees over Bryson DeChambeau and Louis Oosthuizen. A very interesting group, that one, and potentially one to watch. Dustin Johnson, as I said earlier, will tee off with Rory McIlroy and Patrick Cantlay. Chris, Rory McIlroy, can he string 4 good rounds together and win the Masters?
I can't say yes or no, because Rory McIlroy is the most consistent in terms of the golfers you're going to be looking at for this particular Masters. He's been inconsistent for a long time, because we talked him up. He was supposed to be this incredible star. He doesn't manage to do so. And now he's trying to complete this Grand Slam of majors. But because of that inconsistency, we never really know what to expect from Rory McIlroy. When you expect him not to perform, he does. So it's a tricky one.
So he's the most consistent in inconsistency, isn't he, old Rory McIlroy? And look, we hope that he can complete that Grand Slam, but it looks like a tough one because Augusta hasn't been a favorite hunting ground for him. Michael, I come back to you and ask you for your pick. Who's going to win this one? Who's going to claim the green?
Are you asking me for one name?
Give me a name.
No, I can't do one name. Golf is at least if you allow us three names. I think three names.
Three names. I'll give you that. Give you the three names.
I'm going to go for Dustin Johnson, as I usually do. I'll go with John Rahm. And then I am going to go with Brooks Koepka.
Brooks Koepka. Okay, Chris, your three?
This is tricky. I'm going to go Bryson DeChambeau, Dustin Johnson, and a wild card pick, I'm going to go Colin Morikawa.
Oh, that's a very interesting pick, because Colin Morikawa has the ability to surprise as well. So I'm going to go Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, and my third pick is going to be John Rahm. I reckon one of those three will win the Masters when it's all said.
You just repeated what I said, you dirty.
In a different order.
Yeah, but I wouldn't disagree with you, Barry. You're a wise man.
We wrap it up with our power play for Thursday, Throwback Thursday. This track is called Augusta. It's by Dave Loggins. It's from 1981 and it's widely regarded as the Masters theme song. It all gets off and running today.